The tragic suicide of a young writer has sparked a public dialogue on sexual abuse and support for victims. This one gets complicated fast, so if you haven't been following it, bear with us. A lot to get to here. This really became a talked-about issue when the parents of this writer, Lin Han, went public with their claims that her recent best-selling novel about a young woman raped by her cram school teacher was in fact autobiographical, so basically depicting lived experiences of Lin Han herself. They also made the claim that her suicide was linked to the trauma from that experience. Gavin, lots of twists and turns this story has seen over the last week or so. I guess let's just start at the beginning. When these parents came forward with these allegations, authorities right off the bat were saying, this might violate laws that say that you can't reveal the name of a victim in sexual assault cases.
Yes, that's an issue that came out. The parents, as you said, came out 2 days after, I believe the day after their daughter was found having committed suicide in the apartment with her husband in Taipei, I believe the apartment was. She was from Tainan. She committed suicide in Taipei. And the parents came out and attributed the daughter's death to depression, saying that it was related to her being raped by a teacher 9 years ago. Now, before the media picked up on this, a DPP lawmaker and a Kaohsiung city councillor picked up on this, and they both held separate press conferences at either end of the island in which they basically came out and named the suspect in the case. They named the victim in the case, and they also said they have evidence that will ruin the cram school teacher's life. This man was the alleged rapist was a cram school teacher, which where it gets murky. Now, the Taipei city government was dragged into this because, of course, media outlets were either naming the victim and the suspect, naming the victim and not the suspect, or naming the suspect and not the victim, which led to questions over whether the victim or the suspect in the case could be named. Now, the city government's Department of Information came out and said the victim's name could be used because the issue behind her death was related to social justice. Now, the suspect's name, his pseudonym came out, first of all, Chen Xing.
Apparently he was teaching under a pseudonym.
Because this goes back to the other issue that came out here. He was a cram school teacher, and apparently in Taiwan, while if obviously you get a job at a state school or a proper school, shall we call them for the sake of argument, there's background checks, and you have to use your real name. But in cram schools or bushibans here in Taiwan, they employ teachers who work at real schools, and they give them like after work jobs, and the teachers don't always want to use their real names. This means that anybody that gets a job in a cram school doesn't necessarily have to use their real name. So this led to questions about whether it was okay for cram schools where, shall we say, more mature people are surrounded by younger people on a daily basis, should be using their real names so the parents of the students can actually find out and verify the backgrounds of the teachers who are teaching their children.
Right, so a number of legislators now calling for a system that would have more verifications, more checks than the one that we have currently.
After it all hit the media fan, after it all went to the city government in Taipei, the Tainan district prosecutors came out on Thursday of this week and said it has officially launched an investigation into the alleged rape and suicide of Lin Han, who was 26 years old. Now, the police department in Tainan also came out and said, yes, we're also going to start an investigation, but we have difficulties with our investigation because Lin's parents and the rape, which allegedly took place about 9 years ago, neither Lin's parents nor her herself, when she was a child, actually filed any official police report of there being a rape, which apparently the Tainan City Police Department Commissioner Huang Zongren said this has added to difficulties in actually investigating the case.
Right. So as Gavin is getting at right there, a lot of angles to this case. I should point out that pretty much everything that we know about the incident itself comes from this novel that was written by Lin. And in that novel, I mean, it's portraying a 16-year-old girl that has some kind of relationship, some kind of coercive relationship with her Bushiban teacher. So that's the sort of issue that folks out there are responding to and are concerned about. But again, I mean, everything that we know about it does come from the novel itself. So to get a little bit of a clearer picture on where this public outrage is coming from and what could be done to address some of the issues that we're talking about here, I spoke with Lin Mei-Shun. She is the chief executive of the Modern Women's Foundation, an advocacy group working to protect women's rights based here in Taipei. And starting off with that issue of publicly naming victims, as we said, it does look like authorities are going to give the media a pass on this one. But Lin started out by telling me why she feels like those rules against naming victims publicly are necessary in Taiwan in the first place.
It is especially in Taiwan because sexual assault is like a taboo in this society. Before we implementing this Privacy Act, the information of the victims are totally opened, even in a court. But then, when media report this kind of news, has no limit, and then cause a lot of trauma to the victims. And after that, we write this kind of privacy to protect information of victim in this act. This is also related to our culture. When a victim stands into the court, or like people knows who is the victim, and there's more blaming to the victim than to the abuser or to the rapist. That's why we have to, at this stage, protect the victim first.
Maybe you could talk a little bit about why this case in particular has garnered so much attention and so much public anger so quickly.
Yeah. I think a victim's death really is heartbreaking, especially she is so talented and she is so lovely, and she had a book wrote about her story, almost based on her true experiences, and she also struggled for many years, try to recover or try to fight with the whole system and culture. So, I mean, for me, I can feel her helplessness is so strong that make people feel so sad. And before her death, no one could help her. No one could help her. That is really a pity. You can see her infinite helplessness. And what kind of culture stopped a victim to report this kind of things? And what kind of pressure, to stop her asking for help? So this is something we feel so bad. It's like the whole society has the responsibility to share her tears, to share her sadness. We have responsibility. We shouldn't fail this kind of case. Our society should be more supportive. She's been struggling more than 10 years, and we could not save this. And think about that. Many other girls may suffer from the same situations. And what else can we do for others? And as a parent, I'm a parent too. And what else can we do to stop this kind of thing happen again, no matter in the campus or in a cram school? We should implement something else to control the situation.
Yeah. I want to move now specifically to the issue of cram schools, and I want to make a special note that the reason that we're going to this issue is because it is now part of the public conversation. we have to point out that we don't know the facts of this specific case. There has been no trial. There has been no investigation that has revealed those facts to us. But because it is now part of the public conversation and because lawmakers themselves are raising the issue and calling for heightened scrutiny of these schools, I do want to get your perspective on this issue and how cram schools perhaps do, as an environment, perhaps do introduce the possibility of some of the abuses that we're looking at here. So first, I want you to take on that. And then also, what do you make of the proposals that these lawmakers are coming up with? Is some sort of verification system or requirements for naming of teachers, getting the real name of these teachers, is that really what's needed here?
According to the statistics by the Ministry of Hygiene and Welfare, the more than 60% of reported cases are under age 18. So under age 18 is our main group of the victims. And also we look at by the perpetrator-victim relationship category, we notice teacher-student relationship is there were 83 cases last year. Okay, but we believe there are more cases than this 83 represent. Since it is a fuzzy and it happened in a closed environment, and so people may not report. So from this case, we have to think about how do we prevent from those cases. Even 83 is just the tip of the iceberg. And then what else we can do for the rest of the students? And I know there are some ways people are discussing. One way is once the teacher will identify as rapist, we should fire the teacher. Okay, this is the law we are doing now. This is the policy we already implemented. But for the crime school, there is no law for them. So how to cover crime school as part of a prevention network is the focus we should think about. So maybe using real name, it seems easier to track who is the guy, who is what is the profile of the person. But is this really prevent? Can we prevent all cases by using this? I don't think so. So there's still other ways we should think about. We should also think about how to strengthen the owners of the crime school, the owner's responsibility of the crime school, to really have a screen of their teacher and prevent any incident happen in their schools.
And just for closing thoughts, I mean, a lot of this is focusing on, we want to encourage victims to feel empowered. We want to encourage victims to feel like they can come forward and report these cases and seek justice. Could you give us, maybe just to take on this issue even more directly, lay out for us what is standing in the way, in your view, of victims doing that? Why might they be reluctant to come forward?
Yeah. We mentioned about the cultural issue, but I would like to expand more. Since rape is a taboo, it's hard to speak up, hard to tell about their stories. So once it happens, it's like a stigma for the victims. It's like her fault, mostly girls. And this situation, this phenomenon is rooted from our masculinity and patriarchal culture. When a woman, a girl, suffer from sexual assault, people blame the victims more than blame the abuser, more than blame the rapist. She would receive blaming like, why are you so stupid going to his house? why are you not aware of this is a problematic person? Why are you wearing like that? Are you having a very like 很随便的 act to seduce the teacher too? People question the victim more than question the rapist. So this is the culture really stopped many victims to speak up. And the other reason is about the justice. In Taiwan, sexual assault cases are compulsory to report. There were 10,610 cases reported last year, but only 3,656 were put forward as criminal cases by the police. And look at our prosecution rate is less than 50%. It's only about 47%. That means only less than 1,800 cases were prosecuted. And think about, among these cases, only 88% of the case can reach the final verdict. It means only 1,500 cases were found guilty. And this is like a sift effect. There's a lot of suspicious, like rapists, suspicious cases, but at the end, really found guilty, it is so minimum. So people tend to have little faith on our judiciary judgment. So if our judicial system can be more friendly, more supportive to the victims, I think that would also encourage victims to come out and seek for justice. So this is another part of the reason people had to come out. So I hope the government, this is not a single case. Think about this case showing there's so many other victims hiding in the dark side. They are unable to speak up. And there's some other similar cases of some other victims like this age. They are suffering similar situation. I really hope our government can have a strong attitude, no matter to combat the issue, combat the problem, or to have the willing to change some law to make the system more sufficient, more reliable. But they have to talk to the public. Otherwise, the rage and the anxiety just, going on and on.
And once again, we were speaking there to Lin Meishun of the Modern Women's Foundation. Quick note, the foundation recently opened up a sexual abuse trauma recovery center. They offer services in both Chinese and English. Folks who want to learn more, you can visit the Modern Women's Foundation website or call their number 0277287008. The number once again is 0277287008.